Hello, I'm Leanne from Avoiding Broke. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. Today we're going to go through another tool that you can use in an assessment centre that will really help you take on the tasks that you may see and shine. So the tool that we're going to talk about today is Porter's 5 Forces. Now, in our previous two videos, we've gone through the SWOT analysis and the PESA analysis. And so this is the third tool, have in your back pocket, ready to deploy when you need it most. Okay, so like I said, in today's video, we're going to be talking about Porter's 5 Forces. Now, this tool is a framework used to assess new products or businesses or even services and whether they are likely to be profitable. You can also look at the competitive position of a business or a product within the market that they operate. So these are the two main ways that we would use Porter's 5 Forces. So in an assessment centre, what type of questions could you use Porter's 5 Forces to help answer? So there'll be questions like assess whether product Y is going to be profitable, or assess whether company B is likely to be profitable. So if you get these type of questions, then Porter's 5 Forces could be really, really useful and give you an excellent framework within which to create your answer. So now that we've gone through all of that, let's get stuck in and go through exactly what Porter's 5 Forces are. So as the name suggests, there are 5 forces and we're going to look at each one in turn. The first one we're going to look at is the threat of entry. So here we're looking at how likely is it that another business is going to enter the same market, or that a business is going to release a product within the same market that you're looking at. So one of those barriers to entry is the time that it would take to enter and the cost of entry. So if it would take you a really long time and actually be very expensive to enter, then you may be less likely to see entry in that market. Whereas if it's very easy, very quick, and actually doesn't cost you very much, then you're likely to see more entry. You're also thinking here about whether there is specialist knowledge needed to enter the market. And if there is, then how is somebody else going to gather that specialist knowledge? If it's easy to gather it, then you may see entry. If it isn't that easy to get that specialist knowledge, then entry is less likely. Here you're also looking at whether there's any protection for the business and the product. And here I'm thinking about things like patents. You see this a lot in the pharmaceutical industry, where a company will spend a lot of money researching and developing a new drug, and then they get that patent that would stop anybody else entering with exactly the same drug. So that means that entry on exactly that same product is very unlikely during the patent period. Okay, so now we've gone through threat of entry. Let's move on to the next one. The second factor that you would look at is the threat of substitution. So here you're looking at how easy is it for customers to switch from your product to a different product. So here we're looking at, firstly, are there any other substitutes? Because if they are, then that would make substituting more likely. But also, how do those substitutes perform? What's the quality like in comparison to the quality of the business or the product that you're looking at? If there's a big quality difference, then you may be less likely to see substitution if your product is actually of a much higher quality. And also, what is the cost to the customer of changing? And here I'm going to give an example because I think that can really highlight what I'm talking about. You have Coke and Pepsi. The cost of changing between them is very, very low. All you would need to do is pick another bottle up off the shelf if you're in a supermarket, or add a different bottle to your online shopping basket. It is very simple. However, if you have PlayStation and Xbox on the other hand, would customers be more willing to switch there? What is the cost of switching between Xbox and PlayStation? As you can see, the costs here are actually much higher than our Coke and Pepsi example, because if, say, the price of Xbox games increased, then actually you have to factor in the cost of switching over to PlayStation, even if the games are cheaper, because you'd have to buy a completely new console. Therefore, there are costs involved in switching. Okay, so that was threat of substitution. Let's move on to buyer power. So here again, you are focusing on your customers and whether they have any power in your relationship with them. So if they do have power, they'll be more likely to have a greater impact on dictating the prices and the terms. So here you'd want to look at things like how many customers are there and what is the size of their orders. So if you have very few customers and they all have quite big orders, then they are more likely to benefit from the power in the relationship here, because for you as a business, you cannot easily switch between customers because there just aren't that many of them. So the customer holds the balance of power there. Also, you're looking at how easy is it for those customers to switch? Are there alternatives, and what is the cost to them of switching? So as we've seen from the previous example, we've shown that there are some things where the cost of switching is quite low, and there's also things where the cost of switching is quite high. And here I'm thinking about if you are a software company and you are providing specialist tailored software to your customers that's tailored to their businesses, actually the cost of changing them may be quite high if it's not as easy for somebody else to do exactly what you've done. The business may need to change some of their processes in able to switch from buying your product to somebody else's product. Those would be costs there. And also you're looking at how price sensitive are your customers. If they're not very price sensitive and actually you changing your prices doesn't have much impact on your volume of orders, then actually you may hold some of the power. Okay, so now we've gone through buyer power. The next one is supplier power. So this is very similar to buyer power. You look at similar things. Here you're looking at yourself as a customer of somebody else. So people that you are purchasing from for your business. And here again, you would look at very similar things to buyer power. So how many suppliers are there and what is their size? If there are lots of suppliers, actually, then it may be quite easy for you to switch between them. However, if there aren't that many suppliers, then switching will be difficult and the suppliers may hold more power here in this relationship. Also, you need to look at your ability to substitute. Are you buying just a normal standard off-the-shelf product from them that you can get from somebody else? Or is it tailored to your business where actually there'll be lots of costs involved in switching, plus also it'd be much harder to switch. So that's supplier power. The last one you would look at is competitive rivalry. So here you're looking at the whole market that you're operating in, and you'd look at things like the number of competitors. How many are there? Do you face a lot of competition? What are the quality differences between the businesses there? If you have one business where the quality is actually very high and another business where the quality is much lower, then actually the competition between them may not actually be that strong because you get customers looking for different things. So if you have a customer looking for a high quality product, then they would go to one business. And if they're looking for they don't need that high quality product, they're looking for a much lower quality product, then they would go to the other business. So you can see there isn't that much competitive rivalry there between them. So you'd have to look at that as well, the quality differences. The next one is switching costs. Is it easy for customers to switch between your product and other companies' products within the market? If it is easy for the customers to switch, then you can imagine that there would be more competitive rivalry between the customers and they would be fighting with each other to get your business. The last one is customer loyalty. So this is really important here. So if there are lots of competitors, there's no quality difference, the switching costs are low. However, if you have customer loyalty, then that may mean that actually the competitive rivalry isn't as strong as it could be. So these are the types of things that you'd be looking at in competitive rivalry. And for all of Porter's 5 forces that we've gone through and the different elements that you would look at within each of them, you have to weigh them all up in the round and then come up with your answer. Okay, so we've gone through Porter's 5 forces. So now why is this so useful to use in an assessment centre? By using this framework, it enables you to consider all of the relevant factors that may impact on a business, the product or the service and its position within a market. This enables you to give a thorough answer to the questions that we discussed at the beginning of this video so that you can really show the assessor that you have thought through all of the different angles. And that's something as an assessor that I would find extremely useful to know, that somebody is able to cast their mind widely and consider all of the factors to come to their decision. The other thing that's really important about using a framework like Porter's 5 forces is that it gives you structure. Now, one of the things about assessment centres is not only are they testing you on your skills in answering the actual questions, but there's also a time element there. You are working under time pressure. So you don't want to be wasting time at the beginning of a task thinking through the different things that you should be looking at in order to answer the question. If you already have a framework in your back pocket that you can pull out and deploy to answer those questions, that part is done for you, and you can go through the actual meat of the question much earlier than if you were thinking about the structure from the beginning. So that can be extremely helpful when you're working under time pressure. And it can also give you that bit of confidence boost at the beginning so that you've got your framework, you know what the different things are, and you can get going. So using something like Porter's 5 Forces also allows you to show your commercial awareness to the businesses that you're interviewing for. Now, I think this is a key skill that businesses look for because it shows that you have an awareness of what makes a business or a product successful. And ultimately, all businesses want to be successful and they want their products to be successful. So if you have a real awareness of the factors that can impact on that, then you're showing that commercial awareness, which will be extremely valuable to the business. So I really hope you found that video useful. If you do enjoy our content, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell button so you know when we release another video. Also, if there are any other topics that you want us to cover, please do let us know because we really want to make content that's most useful for you. Also, do share with anyone else you think who may find it useful. And I really want to wish you the best of luck in your career journeys here. Okay, guys, until next time, take care.